So the Civil War ended in 1865, and the South was in great devastation.
By the end of the war, there were roughly 320,000 Southern men killed, wounded, or missing in action.
And the result from all these men dying from the South in the Civil War, this meant a lot of sons and fathers were killed. This also meant that a lot of plantation owners could no longer take care of their plantation because they were either dead or wounded, except for slaves. But there were no longer slaves available. Also, a lot of young men that were attending schools and colleges were dead or wounded. This caused great devastation.
A large part of the forest in Atlanta and other southern states had been cut down due to the war and were used for firewood and barricades. And so a lot of the forests were gone and they couldn't be used to rebuild homes, and the surrounding areas were completely gone.
From a result from all of this war happening, a lot of farms, plantations, and houses have been burned down. Due to a lot of forests being cut down, this didn't help because a lot of houses were burned down, and most people couldn't rebuild their houses because A, there's no materials left, and B, because they had no money or someone to fix them. Also, a good source that a lot of people were starving and dying of hunger were because a lot of crops were burned down or destroyed and therefore couldn't be used again. But luckily, most of their seeds sprouted around.
All the banks had been shut down because the Confederates were printing their own money, and all the money had no value behind it, so pretty much everybody went bankrupt. And so then nobody had any money to pay people to fix things.
As a result, from most of the banks shutting down and the South making their own money, people couldn't pay other workers their wages for running their plantation. Most workers wanted their pay up front when they worked, but a lot of plantation owners couldn't pay them because they had no money. The only way they could get money is if they planted the crops and then sold them after. But no one wanted to do that anymore, so basically a lot of plant owners had no money and empty land.
Most of the civilians in the South were starving because most of their food came from the crops, which were burned down. And this resulted in everybody pretty much starving to death and going hungry.
Even though the South lost the Civil War and slaves were now free, that still didn't mean that they treated them with respect or how they should have been treated. They still tried to show them that they had power over them because Abraham Lincoln was taking their punishment so lightly. But Andrew Johnson was a little bit stricter with them. But still to this very day, there's some racism left in this world, and sometimes I wonder why.